Pokemon challenges always seem like such a cool and interesting facet of the community that I've always wanted to dip my toes in. Or, I guess, subs in this case. But to be honest, I kinda suck at the games. I'm borderline incompetent. So I want to do a challenge that no one else has attempted, but also isn't so hard that I'd end up throwing myself through the closest bit of drywall. I am no Madrybread. That man has the patience of a saint. So today we're going to finally find out the long contested question of, can you beat Pokémon Emerald with an Inkling? Because that is totally a question people have had before. And to be fully honest, I don't understand why nobody's attempted this challenge before. Inkling line has some pretty good stats all things considered. I mean, it is a starter after all. Right? Yeah, it's always been a starter. In reality, I think it all comes down to the fact that this line has some pretty awful level up moves, but with some decent abilities and well-rounded stats, I think this will be a good challenge for my first ever Pokemon Emerald solo run. Also my first time really playing Emerald in general, at least to completion. I grew up with Heart Gold and Pokemon Black and White, so while I've played Gen 3 before, I've never really beaten them, and instead played Alpha Sapphire since that was the main one that came out during my childhood, which becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly. As for rules, only Inklings can attack enemy Pokemon. I say enemy Pokemon here because in forced double battles, I simply had my other Pokemon attack my Inkling to prevent them from helping in any way. There was probably a better solution, but And you're probably thinking, why would I have other Pokemon? That directly leads into the next rule, where I can in fact catch other Pokemon, but only for HMs and never for attacking enemies. No glitches or exploits, and no items in battle, held items being the exception. Lastly, I did allow myself to use that fancy speed up button through this challenge, because honestly, I am currently doing midterms and I lack the time. Actually, as I'm reading this script, I'm on to finals now. This video was supposed to be done a long time ago, but things kept happening, damn it. Plus, it doesn't really affect the outcome per se, so if it bothers you, then you should probably leave this video now, because I have no idea what I'm doing and this speed up is going to be the last thing you critique me on by the end. I suck at Pokemon. Either way, well, let's begin. I start the journey with the professor once again asking my gender, but to be frank, this time around, I get it. After that, I find myself waking up in a moving van, because child neglect is a Pokemon universal standard. And upon arriving at my new home, I instantly disown my mother and get to run away from home because I'm officially old enough to do so legally. While trying to do so, however, I break into my neighbor's house and try to steal their Pokemon, but get caught. I play it off cool though, acting like I was introducing myself, being their new neighbor, and thankfully she bought it. I go back to playing the town when I notice the professor getting attacked by a glorified pinecone, and while he was distracted, I go to steal from him. Of course, picking Squirtle, the base form of the Inkling line and our only attacking Mon for this entire run. I did try to leave the professor for dead after, but I felt bad for robbing him, so I saved him from the Zigzagoon at least. Thankful that I didn't let him die, but also disappointed I tried to, he let me keep Squirtle, who I ended up naming Squib. After that, I beat the shit out of never mind. I lose to May, somehow, but then I don't even get touched on the rematch. The professor, impressed, hands me an off-brand Nokia, and my journey finally begins. With that, I beat the snot out of some local trainers' beloved pets, pocket their cash, then go to get the back child support from my dad. However, he comes up with some excuse and forces me to help some nerd catch a Waltz. After that, I head to Rustboro City, but I'm stopped by some sort of cosplayer while in Petalburg Forest. They didn't stand a chance. But apparently my computer didn't either, because the game crashed and my save was deleted. So after doing that all for a second time, also Squib's name is now just the default, which is lame, so I'll just keep referring to her as Squib. Finally in Westboro, I head straight to the gym, bodying every trainer in my sight till I reached Roxanne. Yeah, I kind of just water gunned down everything like Spider-Man origin story with only her nose pass getting a few swings in, and that was mostly because I got tired of spamming water gun. After that, Squib ended up evolving into an Inkling. So with this evolution, Squib learned Mudshot and also gained the secondary typing of fighting. An overall pretty balanced dual type in terms of strengths and weaknesses, though the fighting type is more than welcomed. Then I proceed to save some old man's dog, after which I'm asked by some business guy to bring a letter to Stephen Duford, where May challenges me on the way, who I swiftly Thankfully I beat her on the second try and sailed to Duford Town, delivering the letter to Stephen, who was standing alone in a dark cave. Regardless, I shrug it off and head to the Duford gym. But with us not really having any great solutions to fighting types, it was a bit of a challenge. Most trainers went down with just a few water guns, but Brawly was being a bit stubborn. 2 water guns quickly took out his Machop, and 2 Mudshots was more than enough for the meta type. But going into Makihita fairly healthy, Squib lands a few good Mudshots, and all was looking good. Billy hit me with a reversal, then Vital threw me into the afterlife. On the rematch, we managed to make our way back to Makihita, but it seems like we're being out DPS'd. Then I finally get a run where Inkling's new ability, Poison Point, an ability that has a chance to poison the opponent after a physical attack, activates, where Mudshot then proceeds to crit, ending the battle. After that, I kind of black out for a second, almost as if The game crashed again and I had to refight the gym, probably because that's what happened. Thankfully, I managed to beat the gym again, and turns out the solution was just more water gun, so it didn't do much harm. Plus, I think I fixed the crashing problem to boot. After that, we head to Slateport, where we proceed to rob some people at the beach, and then I kind of get lost. Remember, I've never actually played these games past this point, and it's been 10 years since I've even played the remakes. So after some snooping, I do eventually end up at the Oceanic Museum, where I beat up some more cosplayers and accidentally summon their cosplay king, who then goes on about something that I could really care less about, and then leaves. Also, I can't find where in my footage, but at level 25, we learn Brick Break, a 75 damage fighting move, which low-key was the best move through like 95% of this run. And on that note, here are the stats at this point in the run for those who are interested. Overall, pretty damn good. I mean, starters tend to have pretty well-rounded and decent stats overall, so. After that, we have another May fight, and through watching other Pokemon challenge videos, I know this fight is supposed to be rough, which was concerning considering my May fights were looking a bit worse for wear at this point. That said, at this point, we're 7 levels above our strongest Mon, so we kind of Brick Breaker Wingull and Sceptile, then Water Gun down our Slugma no problem. A bit anticlimactic, I know, but this one mostly gets hard late game. Arriving at Mauville, we find Wally trying to challenge the gym, but his uncle won't let him. Thinking he can prove his grit to him, he challenges me to a fight. Feeling pretty good after that, I go to challenge Watson. With Squib being half water type, I had a feeling this fight would be pretty rough if we weren't careful, and I was correct. Not because it was particularly rough, but because I wasn't careful. And with no items in battle, I was outsped and zapped to death. Starting again at full HP, we were able to poison his Voltorb, then easily Brick Break him. Another Brick Break then took out his Magmaton. Electric wasn't safe from Squib's powerful tentacles either. However, we did get paralyzed in the process. This just left us with Manectric, who ended up leading with a Howl, raising his attack, which we tried to cut short via our favorite brickiest brick attack. However, it only did half HP, which led to Manectric popping a Citrus Berry, then shockwaving us into right HP. With not much else we can do, we tried to attack again, but a quick attack swiftly ended us. Next attempt we don't get paralyzed and are able to get them back to low HP, yet Watson then pops a Super Potion. However, luck is a mysterious mistress, and our Brick Break crits, where we then finish them off. After that, I go catch a Zigzagoon for HMs, and promptly get lost again. Where the f am I? Eventually, I do make my way to Meteor Falls, where I see some TF2 cosplayers have successfully stolen the intelligence and are now heading to Mount Chimney. Team Awkward then tries to indoctrinate me, and it almost works. My sea creature roots were saying they had a point, but I'm an anarchist and decided all sides should lose instead. I get lost again. However, I do end up stumbling my way to Mount Chimney, where Squib ends up evolving to her final form. Here are her stats once more, and with that we challenge Maxie, where I proceed to throw a brick at his dog, then waterboard his bat and fire camel. Not much of a challenge, but with the water starter, I guess that was expected. Knowing I ruined another person's day, I get lost again, bathe with some old people, then enter the Lava Ridge gym, getting lost in there, and eventually challenging Flannery. Is that how you say her name? I don't know. All I know is I 100% had a crush on her. Now, however, instead of having a crush,
I gave her a crush.
as in I murdered everything. Her Turkle was able to land a few hits, but it didn't really matter in the end. Sorry. Just leave. After that, I unsurprisingly get lost again. I wasn't joking, I really have no idea where I'm going. And end up learning Water Spout, a base 150 water move with 100% accuracy. That gets worse as you take damage. I somehow end up at my dad's gym, finally attempting to collect that child support via challenging him. And while this battle tends to be pretty difficult, in fact I remember having trouble with the Alpha Sapphire version of this battle, Web is pretty overleveled at this point, which is kind of wild. I haven't really done much intentional grinding yet. And that combined with fighting being pretty damn effective against normal types, I kinda swept through the first half of his team using Brick Break. Slacking, however, was a different story. It took 2. Upon completely embarrassing my dad, I get my butt over to the Water Institution, where I continue Squib and I's rampage, beating up some more grunts, and getting myself a little casty boy as a present. Hell yeah! I put him in a box. Upon leaving, I get jumped by May, and making my way to Fortree City, I throw a brick at some lizards, then spend way too long in the gym puzzle. Mostly because these damn bars were broken the whole damn time. Not really sure why. Maybe Squib's existence in this universe just causes some unwieldy side effects. It doesn't really matter though, as I eventually make my way to Winona, where Swablu goes down easy with a Brick Break, and Skarmory follows suit with 2, but not without getting out a Sand Attack and Aerial Ace. Proprius was a different case though, as I accidentally clicked Mud Shot, letting them Aerial Ace me, where I then proceed to miss a Water Spout, letting them set up Sunny Day. 1 Sand Attack and all that happened. I do end up hitting a Brick Break, but it doesn't do much, and a Solar Beam breaks me down to red, where I then get finished off. Going back for the rematch, I kinda just wreck everything, one-shotting the Skarmory before I could use Sand Attack, which then allowed me to one-shot the Tropius. Pelipper was a bit of a pain in the butt, stalling out with Protect and using up all of her Super Potions, but after a few Brick Breaks, she stood no chance. Finally reaching Altaria, I used another Water Spout, bringing it to yellow HP. The Altaria Dragon Dance then kept aerial acing me, but they simply couldn't do anything to her buff-ass squid, and a few Brick Breaks later, Winona was defeated. Jeez, so far this challenge has been surprisingly easy, only really losing battles due to my own incompetence coincidence or bad luck. I'm wondering how this will continue as we get into the later battles. Regardless, Archie steals a red marble, and I somehow end up invading the magma hideout, which is in a damn volcano. How are these people not dead? They're in big dumb jackets. Either way, I then find Maxie trying to use a blue marble to wake up the red Pokemon. Really, Maxie is colorblind. Wait, never mind, he's just stupid. It appears Maxie hears me making fun of him, and we end up fighting. After that, I chase after Team Aqua, where I proceed to beat up a bunch of their likely underpaid employees, and sadly end up letting Archie escape. However, we do proceed to chase it. Oh, never mind, I guess I blacked out, and I'm all of a sudden in the middle of the Moz Deep gym. Which is totally not because I forgot to hit record and remembered what I did to get here, but I guess we're here now. So, this is the Psychic Double Battle Gym, and for those who don't know, you quite literally can't challenge this gym without another Pokemon. So the smart thing to do would probably be to catch a crappy low-level Pokemon that just used, like, Leer on Squib or something. I didn't end up doing that. Instead, I kept in one of my HM Pokemons to just repeatedly punch Squib in the face every turn. Real smart thinking, I know. That said, we challenge Tate and Liza, and it goes pretty well to start. I Water Spout their Xatu and Claydol, taking the Claydol out and doing a lot of damage to Xatu, though they do end up healing soon after as I proceed to take out the Luna Town, and even the Soul Rock. However, our steamroll is promptly ended as they proceed to heal the Xatu and take me out.
Wow, you really suck at that game, don't you?
What the hell was that?
The live studio audience. Did you not notice them?
I hadn't. Also, where did you come from?
I saw how much you sucked at the game, so I thought I'd take over for a bit. Let everyone get a taste of a real gamer.
Ugh.
What? Man, I even got this cool shirt that says so.
Oh, that's just awful. I mean, you better end up hiding that because I am burning it the minute you're not wearing it.
Who says I'm ever gonna take it off?
Gross.
Whatever, move aside. It's my turn. Alright, Tate and Liza. This is gonna be easy. What? Okay, well, I'm just a bit rusty. I get back and... damn it. I guess I can see why he was struggling. That Xatu was tough. But if I had to take a guess, it's because Squib is too weak and he just didn't train her hard enough. So I tried to do a bit of grinding and go around and fight some random trainers and mons. Soon I get Squib to level 60. With the extra strength, we easily take out the Xatu with a high jump kick and water spout, getting a double KO as Claydol gets one shot. And that, one more water spout takes out the two floating rocks and victory is, as expected, mine.
Okay, you had your fun. I want my set back.
Whatever, I flexed my superior gaming talents, so I'm satisfied.
I really hope all that gaming talk is at least ironic. And for real, how the hell did you get in here?
Your window was open.
Yeah, I live on the second floor. And she's gone. Oh, you know what? She probably came up through the fire escape. Sorry about that, y'all. Not gonna lie, strange things keep happening around here as of late. I've been trying to record around them, but you can see how that's going. Regardless, I go beat up Maxie and some grunts with Steven, then get Dive, and proceed to look for Archie. Before that, however, I go to fix my moveset just a tad, forgetting Dive because that was a dumb decision, and learning Takedown, then using a TM to learn Earthquake. Finally, I make my way to Archie and just beat the absolute hell out of him, but it didn't really matter as he awakens Kyogre anyways, which seems to start up some sort of childhood rivalry between Kyogre and Groudon. When so bad, it's supposedly going to lead to Armageddon. Due to this, I had to seek out Rayquaza to get these literal infants to cool their I don't know why the actual champion couldn't have done it, but whatever. Of course, while doing so, I do end up getting lost again and end up running around aimlessly for a bit. But after that actual world-ending crisis is taken care of, I act like nothing happened and challenge the Sootopolis City Gym, which was kind of a beatdown. I end up one-shotting the Love Disc and Wish Cast with ease, then end up two-hitting the Kingdra with Earthquake, and taking out the Cerealio and Crawdon easily with Break Break. I thought Break Break was considered a pretty mid-move, but this thing is just murdering everything. Granted, I'm like 20 levels above most Mons at this point. Group's physical attack is higher than her special, but even then, this move is kinda wild, or maybe just really perfect for this Pokemon. That all aside, it was finally time for the leak. First, of course, I get lost again. I swear I need the damn map from Dora strapped to my head at this point. Upon making it to Victoria Road, I embarrass some kid who acts like I should know him, but I don't. All I know is that he was annoying and is now dead. Or at least unconscious. Eventually, I make my way to the leak, helping myself up before jumping into the fray. Squib is level 66 going into Sydney's fight, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
We decimate him.
I mean, he is undoubtedly retiring after this. I one-shot everything with only his shift tree giving me problems, as it was able to raise its evasion and confuse me, allowing Sydney to pop a full restore, but in the end, it didn't really matter. After that, Phoebe was next. And she was a bit more annoying as her Dusclops kept spamming Protects, but once I got the ball rolling with a few Water Spouts and Earthquakes, her team crumbled. However, they did kind of put up a fight towards the end and left me with under half HP, but nothing really notable happened beyond that. I then heal up before heading into Glacier's fight, where I one-shot everything with Brick Rake once again. Ow, the league just kinda sucks. Guess I should wrap this up quickly. Oh, I see. And while the rest of the league were mostly pushovers, Drake really pumped the brakes on my win streak. Squib really doesn't have anything great for his team. Granted, my lack of being good at the game could be the real problem, but even then, no matter what I did, I just couldn't outlast his team. Everything has so much HP and just were too strong for Squib. The biggest problem really being a Salamence, which would always KO me before I got the chance to attack. With that, I grind up my levels on the Elite Four, each time getting a bit closer, but not quite there. While doing so, I eventually realized my biggest problem. It seems that by the time I got to Salamence, the rest of his team had already whittled down my HP far too much, preventing me from taking any future hits. With that in mind, I lost to him another 7 times, then decided we needed to change its strategy. I can be a bit stubborn. With that, I looked into the held items I could potentially give Squib to try and give her just a little bit more HP while fighting Salamence, where I ended up with 2 options: Leftovers or the Shell Bell. Leftovers slowly restore the Pokemon's HP over time, and is probably the better option generally, but unless I wanted to do the pickup method, which I didn't. I mean, at this point, this video is already 2 months late, which meant my other 2 options for Leftovers were both post-game, leaving me the Shell Bell as the only real option, which wasn't bad, as it heals 1/8 of the damage dealt to an opponent. Not bad for an offensive type Pokemon like Squib. If anything, it's probably the better option. So I break into Shoal Cave to gather some Shoal Shells during high tide. Then after that, I use my only worked in video games time machine watch to fast forward a few hours to low tide to get the 4 Shoal Salts. I then threaten an old man to turn them into the Shell Bell, and then give it to Squib. With that all taken care of, Squib and I are pumped to once again face up against Drake's dragons. But this time, however, the stomp would stop. Going into the fight, we quickly take down Shelgon with a Brick Break and Takedown. Of course, we had to do it twice since he used a full restore, but they went down all the same. Altaria was next, but 2 Water Spouts put him down swiftly, and Kingdra followed suit via some Earthquakes. With the help of the Shell Bell healing us up each attack, and honestly KOing his team a lot faster than before, we go into Flygon pretty healthy. And after 2 takedowns, which I probably shouldn't have used because of the recoil, we go into Salamence just a bit over half HP. First, I once again used Takedown, which was an inherently dumb decision considering the problem was HP, and recoil is a thing with Takedown, but thankfully Salamence just used Dragon Claw, which caused him to get poisoned via Squib's ability Poison Point. For some reason though, I used Takedown again. Asgard and dude. Regardless of my passive clearly trying to throw the fight, we heal a bit off of our Shell Bell, tanking another Dragon Claw, and this, mixed with the poison damage, allowed us to finally— oh yeah, Drake has 2 full restores.
Oh, come on, and after all that hype,
I have a front door, you know.
everyone knows entering through the window is 20% cooler than the front door.
Maybe, but in this case, it's also a felony. Whatever, just let me get back to this.
Okay.
Well, even after all that, I wasn't deterred. I mean, that was the furthest we've gotten, and I kind of threw out a lot of dumb moves for some reason. So with a bit more thought going into the next match, this was more than over. With that, we once again make it to Salamence. But Squib wasn't playing around this time. She was tired of getting her ass beat. So with a bit of Shell Bell healing and a good takedown Brick Break combo, Salamence had finally fallen.
I know you're trying to be dramatic, but isn't there like another fight after this one?
Damn.
Well, it can't go any worse than Drake. So after some preparation, we get ready for our actual final challenge. And I hate to be this way, but I was right. After Drake gave us so much trouble, Wallace was a bit of a cakewalk. Warlord, Ludicolo, and Wishcash went down with little fanfare. Gyarados did give us a little bit of trouble, taking us to about half HP, but it didn't matter, as we took them down immediately after, and then proceeded to one-shot his Tentacruel. It seems Squid's bloodlust might have hit a boiling point, likely brought about through the embarrassment of losing to Drake like 30 times, as she absolutely decimates Milotic, turning her into a pile of water snake mashed potatoes via 2 earthquakes. And with that, it was done. A bit of an anticlimactic last battle considering how much trouble Drake gave us, and to be honest, I think a lot of that was just poor planning on my part, but either way, it doesn't change the outcome. I beat Pokémon Emerald with only an Inkling. This was an odd challenge, especially considering Inklings obviously aren't Pokemon, but even that aside, this challenge was just weird in general, as at times it felt like it was easier than using a full team, and I know a bit of this was due to the fact that I tried to give her a starter spread in terms of stat distribution, but you know, I don't know how to balance Pokemon, so I did intentionally make sure to limit her move pool, but even then I made up just fine, though we definitely struggled a bit in the later half, mostly due to that pretty lacking move pool that I mentioned. There's also the fact that I'm a horrible trainer. I really gotta learn my type matchups. With all that said and done, this was a ton of fun, and I'd love to do another one in the same vein, but in a different Pokemon game. And on that note, I do apologize about the lack of videos. When summer rolls around, I will 100% get back to the video grind. But I will say, expect more experimental content akin to this video. Well, with that, don't forget to do the YouTube thing and like, comment, and subscribe, but of course only if you want to see more. And a big thanks to my YouTube member, Best Pro Gaming, and of course my $15 patrons, Psyche Eclipse, and Benjamin Baker. The extra support is extremely appreciated. Okay, hope to see you all next time. Bye!
Hey, can you let me in? My ladder fell.
Okay. Though I don't understand why you didn't just take the fire escape.
If anyone can break into a house using a fire escape, this is more creative.
I would say more idiotic, but whatever suits your fancy, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, just let me in, please.